Hey everyone, Dana here with Bucky's Customs. Hey, in this video we're going to do volume 3 of our V-Carve Inlay series. We're going to use V-Carve Pro and of course our Longmill. So stay with us.
Okay, so let's get started with Vcarve Pro. I'm going to open an existing file. This is what I started with. Now, I had mentioned that I do have Shutterstock. That's where I got this particular image. It's a usable image, no watermarks, nothing like that. And it is good quality. So what I did was I brought it into VCarve like I did before, and I traced it. And this is a fairly simple trace. Now, the reason why I selected this one is because the right here, the red wine is totally separate from this outline. And you're going to see how I separated the vectors and manipulated the vectors in order to get the look I wanted. And let's get rid of the bitmap layer and let's go to layer 1. Now this is what I've traced. Now you can notice right here there's some overlapping, and that's okay because we're not going to use any of these toolpaths from layer 1. We're going to copy what we need over to our other layers. So basically, this is one of my vectors I've grouped. Initially, it was inside. What I did was is I brought it down in between the glass vectors. Right there, you can see where it's down in between. And the reason for that is I'm going to carve the red pocket first. Then I'm going to insert the plug, and then I'm going to reposition this whole thing back on the mill. I'm going to recarve the cheers and the glasses. I want this to be a nice, clean transition. So this red is going to come right up, and then when I carve the glass, it's going to make a nice, perfect transition all the way around so that the red fits in the glass. I really wanted it to fit the glass and look more real instead of like a cartoon. Let's get rid of the bitmap. You can see how the lines overlap. This is where my first pocket is going to be carved. This is the first thing we're going to do. Oh, I just see a mistake right there. You see that? That's interesting. Select it. Does that make a difference? Oh, you know why? I gotta ungroup it. That's crazy. Ungroup this object. Okay, now I should be able to come over here and cut that out. Whew, scared me there for a second. Let's do this. Let's go to our liquid pocket and I'll show you what I did there. You notice that all these lines are attached, even though the glass runs through it. I wanted it that way. When the bitmap was created, and I'll show you that right now, you can see there's a break here. There's a break in this. So when this vector was created around the red, it was broken here so that this black layer can go through it. I reconnected the red, and like I say, you could see that here. I reconnected, and all I did was come over here and use the draw line tool, connected them, and then used the scissors to trim things out. I moved them around a little bit. I moved these splashes a little bit just to give my bits room to get in there and do the clearance and make it a little bit simpler to carve. Now, these are things that you can do. Uh, Obviously, this isn't hard to do, but it's a lot more editing than the first board that I did in the series. Let's do this. We're gonna go to, I've got my pockets created for both my glasses and the word, and also the wine. So I've got the pocket layers created. You can see that they're individual. Okay, so when I create this toolpath, this is the toolpath I'm going to use to create, and we'll carve this one first. Like I said, very important. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to take this liquid pocket and I'm going to select it, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy this to a new layer. And we're going to call this liquid plug. So now I have a liquid pocket and a liquid plug. The pocket is what we cut into the cutting board. The plug is what we cut into another piece of wood to make this inlay. All right, so we've created the plug. Now what we need to do is, as you know, we need to close off the liquid pocket, make liquid plug layer active, and then we need to mirror this so that we can carve the plug. Go over here to transform objects, mirror selected objects, and we're gonna flip it horizontal, and we're done. So now let's do the same. We'll go back to the glasses layer, and we will select this vector and right click, copy to new layer. All right, we're going to call this glasses and word plug. And that is about as simple as you can get right there. So now we are going to come over here to the word plug. We're going to shut off the pocket, make glasses and word plug active by selecting it. And then we're going to come over here, select the vector, do the same thing, mirror the object, flip it horizontal. Now we have the negative image or the plug. A couple things I need to explain. When I did the last inlay, I wanted some fine lines, and I sort of paid the price there, but fortunately it came out okay. It wasn't perfect, but you know, just a thought, make sure that when you create your initial vectors, that you realize that the depth of cut is important to how much you sand off. To, you know, I mean, be real careful because you're gonna take away your lines. Anyway, just keep that in mind. Make sure you surface your to get the maximum benefit out of your V-bit. All right, next step is toolpaths. So let's get all these layers reviewed. We've started with a bitmap. Everything we do, the complete project is on layer one. I always do that. Everything is on layer one that I need, and I don't change anything. Once you start making layers and moving things and copying things, you cannot change the size, the width, the anything. You need to leave it the way it is, otherwise nothing will fit. So layer one's got everything on it. I created a layer with just the glasses and the word, and then I created a layer for the liquid, the wine, and then we created two layers, one for the plug in the liquid and one for the plug in the glasses and word, and we mirrored them, and you can see that, see how that, the original and the mirror. Now, it's not important as far as the location on the plug. When you make these plug layers and put your copy your images to that, it's not important where they go on here, because you're just going to take a piece of material, and I probably will move this over into the corner right up in here so that I get the maximum use out of this piece. I might be able to use it for another inlay, you know, some small piece or whatever. I save these and I move them around to get the maximum yield out of what I'm carving. So, but you do need to leave this where it sits, because otherwise things are not going to be on your board, especially if you have multiple carves like this one has. This one only has 2 different carves, but and just like the last one, but if you move them, you know what you get it. So I'm moving on. We're gonna go back to the glasses layer, turn that on, and we're going to start creating our toolpaths. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I want to carve the liquid plug first. In order to create this plug, we need to create a boundary around our vectors. And I do this with a box. This is small enough where I just do it with a box, not a big deal. So let's select all. Come over here to VBit. Now, our start depth for the plug, not the pocket, the plug is 0.18. Our finish flat depth is 0.02. I'm using a 60-degree V-bit, as I explained. And we're using the 1/8 inch end mill. Now I'm going to call this liquid, plug, and we're going to calculate. Now you can see that it calculated 2 toolpaths, one clearance and one V-carve. It doesn't say V-carve, but that is the V-carve bit. I want to preview this, so we're going to preview all toolpaths, and then I'm going to show you that it makes it proud. Now what we'll do is same as before. I'll use a bandsaw and we'll cut this out, and then we'll set this in the pocket. So we can close this, and actually I'm going to reset the preview, then close it. And we're going to come back over here to the 2D view. Now we need to create the other plug. So we're going to shut the light bulb off on the liquid plug. And we're going to come over here and do glasses and word plug. Make sure that you make it active. And you can see that I didn't do a box around this one. This is a much larger carve. I wanted to preserve some of this space in my plug material, so that I might be able to use it for future plugs that I would cut. So you want to select this, okay? Get it all selected. Come over here and do a V-bit. Same exact settings for this plug. We're going to call this glasses and word plug. And we're going to calculate. And there you go. You notice that it's really thin here, so you got to be careful, as I said. Let's do a preview. Want to cut this off with your bandsaw just like we did with the other ones. But you can see just how narrow that is. Be careful. It's not much. You know, it's really not much. I want to make sure with these finer carves that you gingerly sand, make sure that your surface is flat. Okay, that is done. Now we need to create the pockets. So let's reset the preview, close the preview, go back to 2D view. We want to do liquid pocket first because these need to be done separately. We need to do our liquid pocket, glue in our liquid plug, clean it off with the end mill, and then carve our glasses and word pocket on top of that. So different procedures. So I want to do this one first. Make it active. And let's see. That's going to be our pocket. So come over here. Now our pockets start out at 0. They start at the top of the board and they go to 0.2. Okay, calculate. And there we go. We're going to preview the visible toolpath, and there's your pocket. Okay, now we want to reset this preview. Want to close this, go back to 2D, come up here to our layers, and we want to create glasses and word pocket. We've made it active. We're going to select it, and we're going to go back over to Vcarve, same exact settings. We're going to change it to, you can make this whatever you want to make it, but this is just how I identified it when I save my tool paths. So come down here and we'll calculate. And boy, you can see just how narrow that's going to be. So let's preview the visible toolpath and take a look at it. Zoom in as much as I can, but you can see it's pretty narrow. Just again, I can't stress enough, make sure that your board is surfaced and smooth so that you do a limited amount of sanding or you're going to lose this. Don't. Your best bets, once you surface this, do some hand sanding on this with a hand sander. Don't run it through your power machine and your belt sander or your drum sander because it will just take off too much. So let's reset the preview. Let's close this, and that takes care of all our toolpath. Now we need to save these toolpaths. So I like to go back to the 2D view. Go back to the main layer, make it active. See everything we got there, just leave it. Now go to toolpaths, hit our save toolpath. Now we want visible toolpaths to multiple files. I want to create a file for each one, just like these. So we're just going to save the toolpaths. Now, I've created a little folder here, and I saved all the toolpaths. That's done. We'll go to the Longmill, and we'll get this thing carved.
Hey everyone, before we go any further, I want to say thank you to this week's sponsor, CNC Labs, the makers of the Longmill benchtop CNC, just like the one we have here in our shop. Go to their website, cnc.com, and check out this great machine. You will be so happy you did. Now let's get back to this week's project. Step 1 in any carve is to find the center of the board. Set your X and Y, use your touch block, and set your Z. Then you can get started with your carve, just like you're seeing me do here. I'm doing the first pocket for the liquid, and we are using a 1/8 inch flat end mill to do the roughing. You're going to see me switch over to the V bit, and then we'll do the V bit. Then we'll take a little bit of time and we'll add a piece of material to the MK1, and we'll use tape for the first time, which is something that I very, very seldom do. I always try to clamp these down because I'm afraid that tape is going to let go, but I wanted to try this one in this case, and
Well, even though it wasn't perfect, it did stay put.
We're going to use the 60-degree V-bit like we always use, and I'm going to use an 1/8 inch clearing. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the V-bit. And I've never done this before, but I've seen where people do the V-bit first, and I'm going to try that and see if there's different results. I know that my plug is like 2.5, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure over 2.5 in each direction from this corner, because I don't have to put it in the center. I can put it wherever, you know. I want to save as much room on this as I can so I can use it for future plugs. So we'll do it over here in the corner, and I'm going to mark 2.5, and then we'll come up here and we'll do 2.5 here. If we mark that as our center, we should be good. That's probably another advantage of setting our 0 for X and Y, is we've already got the V-bit in. We don't have to put it in, set our 0, take it out and put the 1/8 inch bit in and do your Z again. We can do it all at once right here. So let's do that. Whenever I shut this off, or it shuts off or disconnects, I don't know, it's just a habit. I probably don't need to do a home cycle every time, but I do, just to be safe and sure, because I'm cutting inlays. So choose there. So I'm good this way for the X, good this way for the Y. So we're gonna 0 our X and Y, and then I'm gonna lift this up, that there, put this up here, we'll get that set up, get the magnet on, and we will lower it. Then we will set the probe for Z only. Click the probe, do a continuity check, and start the probe and see what happens here. Oh look, it worked. It always does. Surface on this has already been done, so I know it's flat and I know it's parallel to the back, so we're gonna go ahead and run this. Hey, while the Longmill is doing the hard part, let me say thank you to all of you who are watching our video right now. I really appreciate that you stuck it out this far, and if you're new to our channel, I really appreciate that you're here as well. I hope that you will go subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can get notified when I post again. I really, really appreciate it. Now enjoy the rest of the video. That part is done, and now it kind of looks okay. There's no chip outs that I could see. So now we go through with the 1/8 inch bit and see what happens. Make sure you get this good and tight, because you know that German word, good and tight. You need to make sure that you speak German to that, because that collet that's inside the other collet can loosen up on you. Make sure you get it tight. We're gonna Z. That's important. Don't forget the Z. Now your X and Y is going to stay the same. Do the probe test. Successful. I think that's good enough. So here you can see along the left side of the piece of wood that I'm carving into with that end mill, the material has lifted up a little bit. I don't think that tape did an adequate job to hold this piece down. So I had noticed it prior and decided to leave it, and we'll just go through it. I'll recarve if I have to, but you know, it came out okay. It didn't move, and everything fit well. That came out really well. I will check the results after we make the glue up, but came out really well. No chips out. Everything is still here, and I'm just going to be careful touching it because there are some thin ones in there. So let's get this out, and we will cut it out with a bandsaw and glue it in. Here I'm using the bandsaw to remove the uncut portion of the material for the plug so that it'll fit down in the pocket in our cutting board. Now I'm going to try something different than what everyone else is doing. I'm going to put the glue on the plug. I'm a little confused about how people can use so much glue and still get a nice tight fit. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, but I think I'm going to try it this way, and we'll see how that goes. You can see, so let's put it in the pocket, and now here you see me putting the plug in, and then you see me putting the board in the clamp. Unfortunately, I decided not to keep the board in the Longmill. I was hoping to leave it there, that way I wouldn't have to reset my X and Y, because when we do the next pocket, it's going to have to be lined up perfectly to our first pocket in order to get the look I was looking for. And you saw that when I was drawing this or showing you the drawings. It came out really, really close. It's not perfect. There's a lot of reasons for that, but it still came out really, really close after resetting the X and Y. But using the V-bit definitely has an advantage when you start with that. I really believe that in the long run, if I was using a steeper V-bit, it would definitely prevent a lot of chips and tear outs that an end mill would cause inadvertently. So I don't know that to be true because I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking that it's probably why others do it first. And in this case, I didn't need an end mill, so the V-bit did it all. Now here you can see I'm putting the glue in the pocket, and if you notice over on the right side of the glasses, you'll see where that end mill kind of dug into the top of my cutting board, and that is a product of taking the cutting board out of the mill and then putting it back in. If I could have left it there, it would have been a lot better, and I think this actually contributed to some of the tear out that I had there, because I don't think I really got good clamping pressure in the clamp. Well, that's the end of volume 3, and damn, I think it came out awesome. I've never built an end grain cutting board out of just walnut, and I don't know how I did it. I tried to do a little methodology into how to put the pieces together and glue it up so that it was structural. Wasn't thinking about the beauty of it, but damn, this thing really came out dark. I mean, as walnut, I've seen other walnut boards, but you know, come on. How do you not like that? I mean, this thing, I'm hoping that you can see the grains. I mean, it's just, I'm sorry. I've always felt that end grain cutting boards were ugly. You know, basically, I've always felt that. And I probably still do to a degree, but walnut, holy Sorry. But, you know, I made some mistakes in this one. It wasn't a perfect carve at all. I mean, the carves are okay. But there again, you know, I am sticking to this 60-degree V-bit. And, you know, I'm paying the price for that. If I want thin lines, you got to use a steeper bit so you can get in this wood farther and it will grab. Otherwise, when you sand, you're going to take it all away. And that's basically what I did in this again. And it's durable. It's a really durable board. I'm very pleased with this overall. So, hey, you know, Volume 3 is in the books. Okay? And this is my favorite board so far. I've got 2 more videos to go in this series. I hope you stick around and watch them. I hope you're learning some things as I am. I'm learning as I go. So again, you know, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you really like what you see here, yeah, go ahead and click subscribe. And click the notification bell. YouTube will let you know when I post again. So, hey, until Volume 4, be safe out there.